Hello, my name is Laura D'Angelo. I'm an attorney at Dinsmore & Shohl in Lexington, Kentucky, where I practice business transactional law, equine, and gaming law. So I grew up in Canada and in southern Ontario, and I grew up riding ponies, pony hunters. I did pony club. So I did 3-day eventing until university. I did my undergrad at the University of Guelph in biology and human kinetics, and then did an MBA at York University in Toronto. I went on to work in marketing at Procter & Gamble for a few years, and then moved here to Kentucky to attend law school. No, so there were no equine-specific classes at the law school when I attended. There was a great demand from the students even when I was a student, so people were asking for equine law classes, but there weren't any offered. I started lobbying the then dean, who was Dean Vestal. I had prepared a syllabus and a course outline and kept meeting with him and saying, you know, this would be really good. And students would call me and say, how come there's not an equine law class? And eventually I think Dean Vestal saw the opportunity for that to be a recruiting tool for the law school, and that there was a real need in the area. We had a lot of equine practitioners, and it would be helpful for students to have some background before they started practicing law. And so I started teaching that class maybe 7 years ago. So equine law, this is one of the reasons why law schools didn't adopt it early on, because it's not a core subject like contracts or products liability law, which has its own defined set of cases and statutes and regs. So equine law is more of an amalgamation of law. So it's more of a survey course. So equine law can be contracts, it can be personal injury. There's a lot of litigation involving sales of horses, stallion management, stallion syndicates, those sorts of things, plus all the regulatory side with parimutuel wagering, the horse racing commissions in various states, drugs and medications. So for me, because my interest is really in business, I've focused my practice on the business side of the horse industry, whether that's the racing industry or the sport horse industry. So I do a lot of contract law, I do a lot of stallion syndication work, I do a lot of regulatory work on the gaming side and on the racing side. I previously worked as general counsel for a few years with Gulfstream Park and Magna Entertainment, helping them with the regulatory side of racetrack management. So that's what I do. There are lots of equine lawyers who also litigate or who litigate exclusively, and that's a real need as well. So if you like litigation, that's a great area to look at. The hard part for me is seeing my clients once they're either approaching or in litigation, because as much as lawyers probably get a bad rap in the press, we really care about our clients. And for me, it's become particularly wonderful where most of my clients are my friends as well. And so when you see someone like that you care about and that they're your friends, and they end up in this very stressful, whether it's, it's not what I do, but if they're getting a divorce or they're in litigation or they're not getting along with their partners in a business, which becomes like a divorce, it's very stressful to participate in that. If you want to practice equine law, what we tell people is that it's a very narrow area. You have to have a real background in the industry, so you have to speak the language, whether it's in the thoroughbred industry or the sport horse industry. In order to have credibility with your clients, you have to speak the language. But it's also a small subset of practicing law. So most attorneys here in Lexington, there might be 10 or 12 people who practice equine law. We'll say it's 10 to 15% of their practice. So it's important for law students to understand that what they need to do when they're looking for a job is not to be out saying, I want to be practicing equine law, although you can certainly, that can be a part of it. But you really have to say, I want to be a business lawyer, I want to be an intellectual property lawyer, I want to be a litigator in commercial litigation. And then it's up to you as you develop your practice to develop clients in the equine area so that you can start to sort of weave that into your practice. I hear this a lot from people who say, oh, I want to go to law school because I love to argue. And the reality is law school is not about arguing, and neither is the practice of law. What law school does is teach you a very unique and methodical way to problems. If you're going to go to law school, you need to love to read and to think, because that's what you do most of the time, is read and write and prepare.